Today on 10-Minute IT Jams, we have Carol Chris, who is the Regional General Manager for ANZ for GBG. So GBG is an identity management, location intelligence, and fraud prevention company, offering solutions that help organizations validate and verify the identity and location of their customers. So welcome to the Jam, Carol.
Thanks, Nick. Nice to see you.
No worries, you too. So to start off, could you just tell me, so for heads of business units and financial institutions, IT, risk, fraud, compliance, etc., those decision makers who haven't worked with GBG before, what are your key products and offerings?
Yeah, sure, Nick. For those of you who don't know who GBG is, we're a UK-listed global technology specialist in fraud and compliance management, identity verification and location data intelligence. And we've probably got about 20,000 customers around the world. And really our focus has been to support them in creating a simple and secure digital experience for their customers. And in ANZ specifically, we've got over 750 customers, including top tier banks, finance companies, some key retailers, and most of the gaming and wagering companies as well. I'll expand. Yeah, I was just going to expand a little bit more. I will. Let me expand on the portfolio. If I look at the three solution pillars that we've sort of just quickly outlined, fraud and compliance is a key one, identity verification and location intelligence. And our fraud and compliance solution suite is made up of an end-to-end fraud engine. And what does that really mean? It's really around digital risk management and intelligence, and a complete solution that helps really identify and support KYC and anti-money laundering, right through to application fraud management capability, as well as transaction and payment monitoring. In simple language, it's really around ensuring you identify fraud upfront when you're onboarding a customer and throughout the life cycle of a customer. So really that end-to-end fraud management, which is key for companies today to really be proactive and preemptive when it comes to mitigating risk around fraud and also being compliant, because in this space we know there is a lot of regulation and a lot of compliance that's required to really continue to operate in these markets. And we've actually found, we've done some research recently, and we've found that that whole end-to-end fraud management is a really important facet and a key driver for organisations in the market today to actually promote digital products online. So they want that fraud management capability to be able to support digital capability online. And 70% of Australian financial institutions actually said it's a key factor. They've got to have the fraud management capability if they're going to continue to drive that online product, capability to their customers. We're also seeing that customer acquisition and successfully onboarding customers is also a really key part of the customer lifecycle. And we provide for those regulated entities in financial services the whole end-to-end digital identity verification platform with our flagship product called GreenID. And that product actually verifies consumers very quickly and seamlessly in seconds, while also ensuring that financial institutions can actually comply with the regulatory requirements in both the Australian and New Zealand market. And we're constantly innovating that GreenID solution to ensure that we're offering best-in-class technology. And we've also got a range of local and international data that we continue to enhance and add to the solution, as well as being, the first document verification service provider in the Australian market. And one of the cool new initiatives that we've launched and are launching right now with our identity portfolio is using the latest facial biometric technology and using what's called passive liveness single image, which is all around detecting that you're real and identifying that photo matches you as a human being, and it's being done in the most secure way. So it's really using the latest biometric technology to ensure that when you verify a consumer, they are who they say they are, and they actually match the documents that they're presenting with their identity verification. The third portfolio is location data intelligence called Locate. And this is, again, a very important area for organisations who are really looking to promote their business online and ensure that they've got that end-to-end e-commerce capability. And what Locate does, in really simple terms, is ensures that when you're actually going through an online process through an e-commerce site, that the address lookup and that auto completion is done automatically and accurately, so that you've often, as a consumer, been through an experience where you're actually on a website, you're looking to purchase something, and you start entering your address. That auto completion and verification of your address is really important to ensure, again, that it goes to the right person, and you actually get the delivery as a consumer, and the retailer doesn't get the returns because it's gone to an incorrect address. So again, a really important experience. This solution actually supports e-commerce retailers, again, to ensure they're giving a great experience to their end consumers as well. So that's just a snapshot of what we do in our portfolio.
Awesome, really cool. So you've gone through your products and solutions. So which industries and businesses does GBG primarily service in the ANZ region?
So we probably cover about 14 different segments in the market, again, across Australia and New Zealand. The traditional banks, financial services organisations, superannuation, both from an identity and a fraud perspective, buy now, pay later, remittance, cryptocurrency, which is a bit of a buzz right now, also gaming and wagering, and government and education. Probably they're really the broad segments that we have coverage across for all our portfolio, for all our products. And needless to say that all of these sectors are actually facing really complex and constantly changing fraud and identity theft challenges, especially when you look at the current environment and what has been happening during that pandemic. All these organisations, all these segments are focusing on really around ensuring that they're verifying the identity of individuals that they transact with, and also prevent fraud. So, and also the regulation tied to some of these segments is pretty onerous, and we know that working with a lot of these, whether it be financial services, banks, gaming, we can take the burden off their shoulders by supporting them with our end-to-end solution suite, from identity right through to fraud. Some customers, just to share some names: Citibank, ING, American Express, National Australia Bank, Flexi, Hum, Suncorp, Ubank, ATO, The Iconic. These are just some of the brand names that are our customers and use some of our portfolio to support their business.
Cool. You mentioned challenges that your customers are facing. What are the biggest challenges that GBG is helping these customers overcome?
I think one of the biggest challenges today is around securing trust in a digital economy. We are in the business of creating digital trust between an organisation and their customers. And when you think about it, put yourself again in the consumer shoes. When you're looking to either set up an account with a bank or transact financially with any organisation, you want to ensure that you trust that organisation and nothing will go wrong. So digital trust is really key, and an area that we are supporting, in the Australian and New Zealand economy, organisations to build that trust with the right tools. And it's also around ensuring the trust is built between the organisation and the consumer, but also against protecting the organisation, the company that is in business, against financial and identity, theft and crime, which is becoming more and more prevalent in our market. And back to my earlier point, during periods of financial hardship, these things get challenged. Trust gets challenged, particularly we've seen during the pandemic, consumers and organisations have been vulnerable and susceptible to attacks, fraudsters, and particularly in the last few months, you would have all heard of just some of these fraudsters contacting people and looking for ways to get your details over the phone, online. It can be a phone call, it can be an email, it can be a text. Pretending to be the ATO or the government to convince innocent consumers to give their personal information. And one wrong click, one wrong transaction can actually be really devastating to consumer and to organisations. So that trust piece that is key to, the digital economy is something that we, see as pretty critical for us to support and ensure we take the pain away for consumers and organisations. And also to my earlier point about proactive and preemptive, some of the tools that, some of our fraud tools actually support organisations being able to detect suspicious activity before it becomes a fraudulent act. So again, having the right tools to be preemptive and to be able to monitor things helps financial organisations in particular to identify areas where trust has been broken.
All right, yeah, cool. Well, I think you've given a really good snapshot of the company there. So that concludes today's 10-minute IT Jam with GBG Regional General Manager for ANZ, Carol Chris. So thanks so much for joining me today, Carol.
Thanks, Nick.